Welcome to Praetorian Guard, Demonstration Part 3. Praetorian Guard is a Microsoft-based network management, network monitoring, and employee monitoring system. We will continue the coverage of the user auditing console. At the end of the last training or demonstration Part 2, we had covered the desktop auditing area of the product. Now we'll move to application auditing. The application auditing allows us to view the actual applications run by the user and for how long on each computer that they logged into and worked on. Once again, we can choose the different formats that we would like to view and select data, computers or users. We'll remain on the service layout. We'll choose the Tribune and we'll choose our time period and load data. Once again, we can see here all of the individual records that have been collected. We can tell what application was run on what computer. We can tell the user that was running that application and the start time and end time. We can group by application name and drill down to specific applications. Perhaps we'd like to see who was running FreeCell. We can see that Ricky Ricardo was playing FreeCell on June 12th at 3:29 p.m. and he played it to 3:43 p.m. So roughly 14 minutes. In addition to being able to drill into each record and see the amount of time each user spent, I can select the ones that I would like to view, either all or individual, by holding my control key. At this point, I'm selecting the whole group by selecting this higher level. We can see with our application usage analysis, we can actually compare the amount of time spent graphically for each user for each application. The pivot table up here in the top left allows us to easily grab and sort columns by selecting specific fields. We can view just that data. By selecting all, I'll see all of it. In addition, I can remove these items and add additional. Perhaps we want to see by computer instead of by user. And now I can simply see how was the usage by computer for those programs. And however I wish to view it, I can in turn print and export this data in any format listed here. I can also view the graph in a separate window so that in case it's larger, I can actually zoom in by holding my control key or zoom out. This gives you the ability to drill in and really see the data and print it out in a professional format for use for meetings, etc. And finally, you can also view the data and the chart, just the data or just the chart. After we return back to the screen, perhaps I would like to also view, instead of just application name, perhaps we'd like to sort by computer. Once again, this works just the same as our other screens that we were showing the grid in. Now I can drill in and see what was actually run on the terminal server, which applications. I can also in turn group by application so that I can sum up, how many records I have for Excel, Explorer, and this allows me to drill down and find applications that are questionable. So once again, all of this information that you have at your fingertips, you can in turn preview this grid. You can actually just print it. You can export the data in the grid to Excel. You can export it to a PDF, to XPS or CSV. Next, let's look at keylog auditing. Once again, we can simply select our Tribune, select our date ranges, and populate our grid. Now in this keylog auditing area, once again, you can click on each individual record, which tells you what application you're running in, and allows you to see the application link. So if it's Internet Explorer or Microsoft Word, and I can see the text that was typed in there in this bottom area. By simply moving amongst these, I can see actually what was keyed by each user. If you so choose, you can view all of your data and view the key log analysis, and this just allows you to see in a spot format how much data was keyed by each user on a given computer. This allows you to drill down and see if a user perhaps keyed data on a computer that they shouldn't have access to, or you can view the weight of the circles, because the weight is the count of records that were keyed and trapped in our database. The pivot table up here allows us to also filter and do more advanced graph changes. All of this data that's been collected here is once again printable, can be previewed, exported in any of these formats. Next, we'll look at website auditing. Once again, we'll select our Tribune and we'll view the date time frame and load our data. Now we can see all of the internet usage by each user on each computer. Immediately, given the quantity of data that we're viewing here, I'd like to sort this by the computer. This allows me to quickly filter down to the computer I'm looking for, and perhaps within here I would like to view individual users. Notice that we may not see user stored here. Well, we do have username, but if there's other fields that perhaps you'd like to see that aren't visible, the grid supports the field chooser, which allows you to select additional fields that may not be displayed but are accessible in the database. We're simply going to sort by user in addition to computer, and now we can drill in and see where we actually have users performing internet actions. So we have Fred Sanford here, who was surfing the internet during that time frame. And we can see actually what pages he went to, at what time, and on what date. By clicking on these, it will simply bring me to those pages in Internet Explorer. Just like in the other screens, you can export or print this data, as well as view the website usage analysis and see how much each user performed on what computers. Next is activity analysis. Activity analysis lets us view for a given period the quantity of time users spent performing activities on their computers. So here we're going to select our date range and hit load. Oops, we must select a source on the left. We're going to view our Tribune. And we can see here, this demo data is all stored data at this point, but we can see by drilling in that this represents how much time these users performed work across this time frame. All this data is once again exportable, and you can simply move this around and drill into the data so that we can see that on Friday, June 11th, what's the data we're collecting for that and how much time and activity was performed. This allows you to drill in and see that computer activity. If a user should have been working all day for 8 hours, but they only worked 4 hours on the computer, it's a flag to you to question what happened with the other 4 hours of time. Finally, in session auditing, this once again allows us to drill in and see log-ons and log-off that have occurred within the database by user. So we can see that here on Scram Windows 7, Fred Sanford logged on. By viewing the security session auditing, we can view users that logged in by what quantity on what computer. This helps you quickly flag if a user logged in onto a computer that perhaps they should not have accessed. All this data is exportable and printable and groupable, just like all the other data fields, grids that we had seen earlier. It's the end of Praetorian Guard Demonstration Part 3 and the end of the User Auditing Console. Please move next to Demonstration Part 4. If you have questions, visit www.praetorianguard.net.